Welcome to another Rust video. In this video, we are going to learn about the Rust compiler and, and its options, and also we are going to create a Rust program, and we will check out how the Rust compiler is used in order to create the Rust files. Now we'll create a Rust compiler folder and we will navigate to Rust compiler. Let's open the same folder. We'll navigate to desktop and open the Rust compiler folder. So we have currently in the Rust compiler folder. Let's create a one file which is of main.rs. In this file, we are going to create a simple Rust program. Let's create a function which is the entry point for the Rust program, which is the function name is main, and we have named the file with main.rs. Let's print welcome to the Rust program. We have now added a print line into our main.rs file. Let's save it and go to the terminal and click on new terminal. It could open up our terminal in the VS Code itself. Rust. Then let's check whether the Rust has been installed or not. rustc -V is the first option in order to check whether the Rust compiler has been installed or not. Once we hit on rustc-v, it could display the Rust file with the and it points which compiler and the version of it we are using. So this is the rustc, which is of 1.65 version number, which is a nightly channel. I hope if you follow the previous videos, we have talked about the Rust channels also. Yeah, we have confirmed that we have already has the Rust compiler in it. Let's try to build this main.rs file using the Rust compiler. rustc hyphen rustc with the file name which is main.rs. So this is the function, this is the command in order to create a binary file of the main.rs file. Once hit on enter, we could see there are two files. One is main.exe and another one is main.pdebug file. The above file is the exe file and below file is the debug file. So we have the two files which are created using the Rust compiler. In order to run the exe file in Windows, we have to type dot / and main.exe. This is the command. In the terminal, we need to type this way in order to execute our .exe file. Once we hit on enter, we could able to see successfully welcome to the Rust program. So this is our print line statement which is in the main.rs file. So we have successfully run the main.rs file using the Rust compiler and using the /main.exe we can able to run our code. It is on Windows. In Mac or any Linux distribution system, we need to type /main.file. Let's create one more file which is foo.rs. We have taken this file and let's create a function which is hello. The keyword public, which is pub in the Rust program. Let's print line. I am println. Let's hello Rust. Here, this is the public keyword, and this is the function which is fn, denotes with fn, and this is the help help. Let's remove this typo. Yeah, this is the function name. So we have created an one more function which is of hello function inside the fo.rs. It is the public function, so that we could able to call this function in another rs file, which is the rust file. Let's delete these two exe file, and let's try to rerun the program by importing the module mod foo. We have been importing this module into the main.rs file, and here after the welcome to the rest program, we are calling file name :hello function. So we could able to call the hello function inside the main.rs file. Let's save the file and we'll clear the console and try to create again exe file. If we are going to create a exe file, so the Rust compiler usually takes the main dot file only. It could automatically, we don't need to compile individually each rs file. The Rust compiler will takes of it. So once we click on rustc main.rs, we could able to see the main.exe file and the debug file, which could has the both main.rs and foo.rs file functionalities. So as we don't encounter any errors and warnings, the Rust compiler successfully created the exe file. Let's run the file main.exe. We can ignore the .exe also. It could print or it could run the file. So dot for /main, it is sufficient, and then press enter. Yeah, we have successfully printed the two print lines, which is welcome to the Rust program and the hello Rust. Welcome to the Rust program is in the main.rs file, and the hello Rust is in the foo.rs file. So we could able to successfully import the another function into the main.rs file, and we have consoled it. So far we have learned how to compile the Rust file using the Rust compiler without the cargo functionality, right? So let's again we'll remove these two files and we'll try to inspect the other Rust compiler functionalities and its options. In order to get the Rust compiler options or the help, we have to type rustc -h or --help. Once we type in the terminal and hit on enter, we could see the document of the Rust compiler which could give the help. Here, this is the command which I have been typed. So in order to have the help on the Rust compiler, we could able to type rustc -h. So it could displays all the information about the Rust compiler, and this is the Rust compiler usage. So once we are familiar with this, how to use the Rust compiler, we could use the multiple input file names, and will create the Rust compiler any library or binary file. We'll move on to each and every option and we'll get to know what are the functionalities of each option in the Rust compiler tool. As the Rust, when we install the Rust compiler, it's automatically when we install the Rust compiler is a component which is in the tool chain of the Rust app. So it's automatically installed. The Rust app will automatically install the Rust compiler itself. Hope if you have the previous videos, if you checked out the previous videos, we have talked about the tool chain and the list of tool chain components and the channels in the Rust and how to install the Rust in the Windows operating system. By default, Rust compiler creates the binary file, which is an executable program file. So in order to create a library using the Rust compiler, we have to use the crate name like Rust compiler file name dot rs, and we need to give the crate type, crate hyphen type, which is one of the option in the Rust compiler. This is the crate type. In order to give the crate type, we can specify whether it is a binary library or dynamic library and custom dynamic library, static library. So these are all the options which is provided by the Rust compiler in order to create what type of output file we need to have. Like Rust compiler space, we can type whether what are the options which are provided in the crate type. If we type lib, so previously we have seen that .exe file has been generated. So now we have expected few of the warnings, like this is the, as this is the library file, like main is never been used because in the library it's not an executable file, hence the main.rs like main function is not needed. So the compiler gives and some suggestions which is in a human readable format. Let's we will talk about what is human readable and how they make it as a none also. Like this is a human readable format, it's specifying that this code is by default not be run, so we could able to ignore this one. So we could see the Rust compiler provides some warnings, which is these are the links by default. This main function is never used in the library and it's saying warning the dead code, and hello is never used. So these are the hints which automatically provided by the Rust compiler. It helps us like programmers have a perfect code. We have noticed once we click on hit on the create type, so we have encountered this file which is RLE, Rust library file. Let's check the one more thing which is R library file. The lib, which is a library option which automatically creates the R library file. If we even if we types the R library file, it's defaultly creates the Rust library file itself. So let's delete this file, and this is the lib file. Let's delete and we'll hit on one more time, which by adding R to the lib. So once we hit, we could see the same file which is generated using the crate type R like lib file. These are the two functions. Like here also we have get the same result, and using the lib crate type also we have get the same result. By default, the static library like type option automatically creates the Rust library file. Hope you have understood. Let's delete the again the R library file and will create rust binary file, and we'll check what is the functionalities of it. Like in the rust compiler we have one more option which is print option. Like if you want to help on it, we can type print. So it's we need to give few more options with respect to the rust print. So we can type help. So in order to have the print, we can able to give the system root, target, library, config, and the target list. Let's try the target list option. Target hyphen list. Once we hit on enter, we could see the compiler which is going to create can be target to all of the list which is provided in this list. Like this is the list in which the rust compiler can able to create a file which can target to these to these items, like to these operating systems. And the same, the rust compiler will provide more options, and also it prints what are the configuration system which we can able to apply in our rs file. So these are the files, like these are the options which can be provided in order to create that our file is only going to compile for that particular feature. So let's try this scenario in order how it's going to work. We get to know that this is the target hyphen os which is supported. So let's add this one into our f4.rs file. So in order to work with the lints, we can specify config not. By providing the not config, so it could target only which are not the Windows file. So this function, we could expect this function is only going to compile or compile by the Rust compiler if it is not the Windows system. Let's try to compile this file and we'll see whether the hello Rust will be included in our executable file or not. So Rust main.rs file, hit on enter. So we could see cannot find this function as we are already calling this function, but in our main.rs file here we could see this is the function name which we are going to call, but this function is not a is cannot able to find by the compiler because we specify this is the configuration in which this function only going to allow to compile by the Rust compiler if it is not the Windows operating system. So this is how the Rust compiler features can be checked out. Like if we type the rust c hyphen print and config, which could give the list of targets, which we can use this in our functionality of the rust, where we can restrict how to compile and optimize our functions. In the same way, we could also target the target vendor and target thread, target atomic, and these are the config options which can be included in the config lint. In the same way, we can print target CPUs, target hyphen CPUs. It could list all the CPUs list, so that this compiler we can able to create by targeting these available CPUs. As when we compiling the main.rs file, we have encountered an error. So in order to remove the error, we can target we can change the fo.rs file by changing its function config functionality. So once we click on running the same command, we can see the main.exe file. As we have seen, when running the main.rs file, we have encountered the error. So let's create the same error and we'll inspect how the function, how the error structure is going to represent. If we have this structure with none, so never, and these are the colors which can be provided. If it is never, so it is not going to provide the color functionality of the error. So we could see this, we are going to run this file in three different formats, which is one is auto, always, and never. So here is the functionality. So let's compare and we'll create always or auto. We could able to see the structure difference in these two, right? So this is how the functionality is differ in this block and this block. This is the two same code error codes, but in the below block we could see that coloring has been added by the Rust compiler, whereas in the above code block, like we haven't seen in the terminal, there is no coloring at all. Rust compiler also provides the error format type also. Like if we have the rustc main.rs file error format in JSON, when hit on enter, it could provide in a JSON structure. So we could able to see all the each and every step how it is going to followed, and we can debug this file, and we can have the same options and few different options like diagnostic short, diagnostic, this is short, human, and JSON. So if there is human, we could see the same error as we previously did, like it is a default human readable error. And if it is JSON, we can expect that is in the errors in a JSON format. And if it is an short, it could simply gives without any coloring, which could simply tells which function is like getting not called. So this is how we could able to interpret, or we can able to debug our errors by using the error format option in the Rust compiler. By default, when we when we compile the main.rs file, it's create the binary file with the same name. If you want to create with the another any output file, so we can type -o, we can make it as a rustc, then hit on enter. It could create, currently we have an error, we could remove this error and hit on the same command. So it is created rustc, which is of binary file. We could able to run this file and we can check it later. So this is how the output has been, like we can able to create an output with the different name. Let's remove these files and we'll create output in different folder. So in order to create a function in order to create our exe file into the another folder, so we can type output dir and give the file name. So we can give first. So when we hit on enter, it could automatically creates a new folder. Here we could see, and in this file, in this folder, we could see the same whatever the exe file which have been generated using the Rust compiler. Let's create an error and we'll see how we can able to use the lint in order to improve our code. Let's define let x equals to I32 type and assign a value to it. Let's save this file and click on, let's clear the console and let's hit on the main dot rustc main.rs. Now we could see this whatever the warning which is going to provided by the Rust compiler. In order to notably remove this warning in our compilation, so we could able to see these are the types of lints like warn unused variables. So we can use this lint and we can apply in our rs file where the code functionality has been provided an error. So we can copy this one and we'll paste, save the file. This is how we could able to ignore the unused variables in the Rust compiler compilation. So rustc main.rs, let's before that let's remove these two files. It makes us clear like what we have been built. So once we hit on help, this could see the length level is defined here. So we could again make this one above on the top. So let's modify our compiler lint to allow unused variables. Let's save, clear the console and again hit on rs file. In order to detect by the system, we need to add the exclamatory mark after a hash symbol. So once we run this file, we couldn't see any of the error at all. So if it applies to one, so now we could expect an error. This is how we can toggle whether these warnings have been whether to produce or not at the compilation time. This is how the lint provides an improvement in our making our Rust code in an efficient way. Now we can learn about how the tests are going to run with the rustc compiler. So in order to run the tests, we need to create hash a lint which is test. So next we will have this lint type like hash, and in the square brackets we can type test and we'll save this file. So once we compile this using the Rust compiler, once we have add this command and we will type the rust test main.rs file and hit on enter. After that we can run the main.rsexe file. We could see that one test has been passed. Let's try to fail this one, the test. So let's create again and run the file. So we could see it could clearly says which has been got error. So here the left time the assignment is 6 and the right is 4. So this is why it has been failed. The Rust compiler will gives the detailed information on the failing part. So it provides all the steps where our test has been failed. Hope you have learned most of the Rust compiler options. Let's recall one by one. These are the 31 commands which we have used in our programming. This is the first one, which is in order to print the version of the C compiler, Rust compiler. These are the 31 commands which have been used so far in our video. Like these are the commands which have been worked on the like Rust compiler. So I hope you have better understood on these options. Will be pasted in the description so that you can go through it all the Rust compiler options. in order to check how they are working while you are creating in projects. I hope you have learned something great. Hopefully we'll see in next rest video.